Welcome back. This is Dusty Circuit here, and sorry I kind of for the pause in these uploads. I've just been... Apparently I chose one of the busiest times, at least on Skate, to start my little series. Like, I did the first 2 episodes in one day, and then I got slammed because of it's the end of the Fortnite season, and then right after that we had 2 birthdays on one day, and then Skater of the Month, and mob fight on that day as well. But I finally have some more... Well, now that I finally have some more me time, let's, I guess, get back to this. And really where I left off, I covered the 2, like the 2 computers I've had in my childhood, and like kind of the stories behind them. But really from here, we're transitioning into my teenage years, and like the end of my school life. And the next video from here is my early adulthood onwards till today. And I've already kind of elaborated on this in post on the previous videos, but so for most of my life, I've largely been dependent on my parents' income, and as such, really, I didn't like, at best, I got a computer that was 5 years old at the time I got it, and kept it for at least 4 years. Or probably at least 5 years. And just even though my computer was ancient, I was still at least happy I had a computer. And it was still enough to spur my interest in computers, so much that at some point in my life I am to not only get into building my own computers, but also but also get in the position that I could buy my own computer parts. And so, though, getting back to the series, at this point, picking up from the last video, I was at a point where the computer I had at the time was just not fast enough, or not powerful enough to browse the internet on. And really my only options to me at this time were either my mom's computer or the computers at my school. Though at least my school district really went to lengths to like censor what sites like that at least the students are allowed to access. Like, my understanding was the teachers had access to blocked sites, but the kids didn't. And hopefully it should be for obvious reasons, but at least hopefully everyone's on the same page as me about like why that's done. But It just meant for me at the time, if I am to use the internet at school, I had to contend with those limitations. And really at home, whenever my mom was not using her computer, that was my best option. And but when I first got Minecraft, well, what originally got me into Minecraft was my sister got the game, and I think at the time she had a white MacBook that was, I think, given to her by one of her friends. And the game Minecraft did not run well at all on it, but she was at least happy it ran at all, and she was able to play the game. And I remember this kind of vividly. Like, for a while, for quite a long time, I'd go into my sister's room to watch her play the games she likes to play. And one of those experiences was I got to see my sister playing Minecraft. And she just had this world that I don't think she played in survival. She just kind of played in creative mode, but kind of still built stuff in the world as if it were a survival world. And then that actually gave me, like, I remember also at that time hearing, like, it just seemed like, at least during that time, well, this was during, well, the time I'm referring to was around, like, the turn of the decade from, like, the 2000s to the 2010s. And that was, and I believe 2009 was when Minecraft first, the developmental versions first came out. Like there was a series of versions, like, probably only the Minecraft historians probably really remember, and then it, like, thing like in-dev, inf-dev, etc. And then there was then there was alpha, and then beta, and then 1.0 and onwards until today. And really around this time was when Minecraft first, like, got out there, and, like, when people were first, like, getting to play it. And, like, I remember it seemed like pretty much, like it just seemed like in, like, a lot of my classes I was going into in school at the time, like, some kid in my class brought up Minecraft. And I kept hearing about this, and I kept hearing about it, and it's like it left me thinking to myself, well, what is this game? And I think I remember at some point watching videos and kind of seeing a bit what it was about, but it wasn't until my experience of seeing my sister playing it that I actually finally learned about what it was. And I immediately was, like, hooked. It's like, I gotta play this someday, even if it's not right now. And we tried to, well, this was before my mom got her new computer, and, or at least knew at that time. And, like, we tried to get Minecraft installed on the computers we had at the time, which were pretty much all still, like, Windows XP early 2000s era PCs. And my sister tried to get it running on that computer, and we just couldn't do it. Just, I guess it was just this computer is just too old to run it. Or at least at least we came to that conclusion. And so it really wasn't until my mom upgraded her computer, and then it was by that point that was fine. We were finally able to I was finally able to install Minecraft on it and get to play it for myself. And I would play Minecraft on my mom's computer just in single player mode for about 2 years. And I think I was to join the Ocraft server in 2014, actually on my birthday, would you believe it? And I believe for a couple of months I was to just play on Ocraft on my mom's PC, but eventually it got to a point where just us, like me and my mom having to share that computer was just getting old, and it's like we'd always be fighting over it, and and at that times it kind of got ugly, but I think I also remember expressing to my mom that at some point I also want a new computer because mine was just, like as I said, it's just so slow you can't use the internet on it. And in the fall of 2014, my mom finally went out to that same computer shop that she's been buying all her computers from, and she came home with the third computer in my series. That at least that we'll be talking about. And around this time, I'll be editing in some pictures of what it looked like. And the one thing I remember quite vividly was around this time I was vaguely kind of learning computer specs. I didn't know exactly, I didn't know. It's like I knew what a dual core processor was and what a quad core processor was, but I didn't quite know what models were what. But I remember this quite vividly. I was like, could you get me I want a quad core processor and 8 gigs of RAM. And the computer she bought me had exactly those specifications. Just kind of a fun thing I remember. But anyway, and the make and model of this computer is an HP Pavilion P616 or p6142p. And there's really like, and even though and this was again not that special of a computer, like it was still, I could think at the time it was about a 5-year-old computer, and I believe it even, like originally it shipped with Windows Vista, but at some point it got upgraded to Windows 7. And Well, I guess the specs would have been impressive for the time, and it had an AMD Phenom 9650, which is a quad-core 2.3 gigahertz processor, and 8 gigs of RAM. This was DDR2, but it was 800 megahertz, which is kind of faster RAM, at least for that time, and it had a 640 gigabyte hard drive, which is kind of an odd size, but it's still like 10 times more storage than what my old computer had, which is pretty awesome to me at the time. And I didn't really care for it that much, but it also had a CD drive. I believe it was at least a DVD. It was also a DVD reader, and being an HP computer, it also had lightscribe, which at the time I didn't even know what that was, but not too long ago I saw Technology Connections video about lightscribe, and then I'm like, oh, that's what that was. And well, for those of you who don't know what that was, it was basically you could buy special CDR discs, where like if you have if you have those discs, and if you have a lightscribe drive and the software to use the technology, you could actually like burn your own labels on CDs. Which came with its own quirks, but it was still a cool cool kind of novelty thing for the time, I guess. Though I never used it. I've only retroactively learned about it through watching a YouTube video. But I guess I'll go ahead and link that in case anyone is interested in seeing that. But anyway, this computer, also another interesting thing about it is, like if you saw the picture I put up of the inside of the computer, and also if you looked at the back, it's the ports on the motherboard, and also the motherboard's in kind of an odd placement. And also you might notice the fact that the case opens on the opposite side of what an ATX case normally opens from. This originally came about because I believe around the time the Pentium 4 processors were really like getting faster and more powerful. They're like the TDP, or thermal design power, also was going up to the point where there needed to be a new case standard that allowed for more direct airflow through the CPU core, and thus the BTX case was born. And so really what sets that apart from ATX is the motherboard. It's basically kind of like it's been flipped around to the opposite side, where instead of opening on, I think on the left, it opens on the right. That's like the side panel, and the motherboard is put upside down from where it usually is. And usually BTX computers have a I have a front-mounted fan, or at least vents in the front, so basically the air can go straight into the front of the computer, straight through the CPU heatsink and out the back of the computer. And from my understanding, this was done really as a response to CPUs getting more power hungry and putting out more heat. And really starting, I believe, I believe from the end of the Core 2 and going into like the Core i3, i5, and i7 era or processors, that was when the BTX form factor was no longer needed and was phased out. Really, just as CPUs were getting more power efficient, there wasn't much of a need for that anymore. But as for my HP, the reason they are constructed in that way, I don't really know for sure. Like that case doesn't have a front intake, or at least a very good one. But HP has been doing this for quite some time. I've seen like even fairly recent HP computers have the upside down motherboard configuration. But really, besides that, this was a standard ATX computer. I could use standard parts. And so this would prove to be fortuitous for me, because when I first got this computer, it needed help. I believe the power supply, like it would turn on, but the power supply fan was not spinning. And really, in hindsight, we should have just replaced the power supply right then and there, but I ended up just kind of using the computer as it was for a few days. But then, I believe not even into my first week of using that computer, my mom had told me she noticed a burning plastic smell. And I immediately noticed, and I was like, and I immediately knew why, because it's probably that power supply overheating. And but also in my first week of using this computer, and when I installed Minecraft on it for the first time and logged on to Aquired, I noticed that I also noticed another problem. Whenever I would load Minecraft full screen on my monitor, and I believe at the time I had a 24-inch widescreen monitor, which I guess was big for that time, but compared to modern monitors that are available, you can buy now, it's not all that big. But when I would have set Minecraft to full screen, my frame rate would dip well into the teens. But if I just play it in windowed mode and have the window rather small, it would run mostly fine. And both my mom's computer and this computer do not have discrete graphics. They had and also they predate CPU integrated graphics, or the kind that the the Core i-series CPUs from Intel have had for so many years. But these computers have, or the integrated graphics is in the motherboard chipset, and those graphics are usually very, very underpowered. I guess that would be enough to just display Windows and your for just basic usage. But if you start like doing any remotely intensive gaming on them, the performance just absolutely tanks. And though at the time I didn't really know this was the case, and so, but since I had just joined the Outcraft server, I decided and I was perusing the forum, and I saw that they had a technical section, and I was like, well, why not I ask about this? Why not I ask in there? And so I went to the technical thread of Outcraft's forums, and I'm like, hey, I just got this new computer, but the performance ain't so good. What could I do to fix it? And I remember this crap quite vividly. ModKiller, I believe, was to recommend me that I get a new graphics card. And at this time, this has kind of led me to really the problem of, well, what graphics card can I buy? And I believe ModKiller would have recommended the GTX 750 Ti to me, because I think at that time that card was brand new. It had just come out, or Nvidia just released it, I should say. And upon doing some research on it on my own, that graphics card actually had become very, very popular with budget computer builders, or even because that card existed, it was possible to literally take just take an old pre-built computer and just drop in that graphics card and basically turn it into a low budget gaming rig. And that was actually quite a popular upgrade, and it kind of still is a popular upgrade for really for really low budget computer users these days. And I would have gone that way, but I asked my mom, hey, I believe at the time that would have been around I think it would have costed about $150. And I asked my mom, like, could you buy this for me? And she's like, no, we can't, I'm sorry. And so I went back to, this sent me back to the forums, and I was like, hey, I can't get this graphics card. Are there cheaper options? And I believe within a few days, another user whose username I have actually remembered because just because of how heroic their recommendation was for me. And then I remember their username as Megaboost 1000, I believe. And they recommended I believe it was the GT610 from Nvidia. And And before buying this, I also did my own research, like what kind of performance does it get in Minecraft, and I was at least happy enough by what I saw to go through with buying that graphics card. And the thing is, so many reviewers just absolutely trashed this card for basically being like basically what this card was. Well, it's a class of graphics cards that are commonly referred to as display adapters because they don't have enough power to be used for gaming, but they're often used in applications where you don't need a really powerful graphics card, but you do need more display outputs, and you may also have power limitations. You may not have supplemental PCIe power, and but so many reviewers would trash this card because it's not a game, it's not for gamers, but it's like half the price of a gaming card that's like 10 times as powerful. And but some reviewers did review it more fairly and were at least impressed by what it could do. And but really at the time, I really only had two options. Either I buy this card or I look on the used market for to possibly get a better deal on a used graphics card that's a little more powerful. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I'd gone this way, because had I have done some soul searching on eBay, I could have found something that was within my spending limit that was at least double the performance of the GT610, and I perhaps could have gotten myself a little bit better of a experience playing Minecraft on that computer. But what really was important to me at the time was that I could at least play Minecraft on my own computer and not have to rely on my parents sharing their computer with me anymore. And really, that's all that mattered to me. And so I believe at around the time I had to stop using that computer because the power supply was literally overheating itself. I think that was the time I bought this. I had my mom order the graphics card, and I think a few days later the graphics card came, but that particular day my mom didn't feel up to going back to that store, so I think we had to wait a couple more days. Or I think we were in a heat wave at that time. I think now that I remember it, but I think I had to wait a few days, and then my mom was like, we can go to the store, the computer store now, and with the HP desktop computer in the back seat of my mom's car, and the newly bought graphics card in hand, my mom drove me back to the computer store, and we went to I believe we would have called them up first, like just knowing them, like that, letting them know the problem with the computer, and that they would be able to fix it for us for free because it's still within the warranty period. And so we came to the store, and but when we got there, the guy he had to turn the computer on to see for himself, because generally computer technicians that fix customers' computers, they have to they don't just trust what the customer says. They have to verify that the customer is telling the truth. And then he turned it on and saw the power supply fan wasn't spinning, and so he turned it off immediately after that, and he put the new power supply in. Oh, I guess he just pulled one. He just pulled one off the shelf and put one in for us, and I believe I also handed him the new graphics card that at least my mom purchased, and I think he put it in, and then he put in the driver CD that came in the box to install the drivers. But I also pretty much was able to like. But another thing is he also the person at the store let us see him work. Like, he let us kind of watch all what he was doing, and this also kind of is to my credit, because it would help me kind of learn how to do this kind of thing on my own. I mean, I guess bad for his business, but I guess good for me to learn, I guess. And so pretty much he replaced the power supply and installed the graphics card for us, for me, and then I brought the computer home, and I was able to pretty much I was able to play Minecraft again, and also not too much later I installed Optifine, and I believe I was able to turn all the graphics settings down to minimum, and I believe I set my render distance at 6 chunks, because at the time that seemed to me like a good compromise between view distance and performance. And on average, I found that I was able to get between 80, like 60 and 100 FPS, depending on depending on where on the server I was and what I was doing at the time. And I was really pleased with this result, or the graphics card upgrade. But the thing is, even though that graphics card, relatively speaking, is way underpowered even compared to the GTX 750 Ti that I believe I originally wanted to go with, but just the onboard graphics were so underpowered that that even the GT 610 was a night and day upgrade. And a lot of people seem to just get caught up in like the fact that somebody's still using a really old CPU or graphics card or like any piece of computer hardware, and they're like, oh, that person should upgrade for soon. Like how is that person not upgraded? But the thing is, everything's relative, and like it could be, you know, I also kind of saw this just recently. When I upgraded my graphics card just recently, and I believe Evan built his own entire computer. And I believe also when JW or just Whiskers built a new computer. They have better graphics cards than I do. I believe Evan has an RTX 3070 Ti, and just Whiskers has an RTX 3080. But and I have an RTX 3060. But even for me, the RTX 3060 is double the performance of what I used to have. And that's really what that's really what should matter. And it's also the way I saw that computer at the time. It just like, I mean, like, yeah, like even for that time, it was kind of dated, but it's still a night and day upgrade from a a single core processor from the early 2000s and a graphics card from the late 90s. And yeah. But I believe shortly after those the power supply was replaced, I believe I was to buy a new power supply for it anyway, because the one that got put in to replace the broken power supply was a bit noisy for my taste. It like it wasn't like it was, I guess it wasn't just a little bit loud, it was very loud. Like I'd probably almost, I'd say it's maybe almost, I'd probably equate it to like a hair dryer on low. I guess it wasn't quite that bad, but it was definitely loud enough that I could hear it well over my headphones. Like if I'm if I'd be wearing headphones in front of my computer. And I believe that's the next thing I was to ask for advice on in the technical thread of Autcraft's forums. And I believe another user recommended, I believe, 3 different power supplies that would have been within my budget at the time, which I believe at the time I was not willing to spend more than $50. And at the time I went with I believe it was a Thermaltake TR2 500 watt power supply. And this was it was non-modular, and it was still kind of based on an old design, but it had a quieter fan, which is really which is the reason why I wanted to replace the other power supply. But and also, due to it not having modular cables, I just had to stuff the bundles of cables just in wherever in the case I could fit them, really. But what's important is that it worked. And really from here, I was to use the computer in this this configuration with the new power supply and the new graphics card installed for really the better part of the next 4 years. But it wasn't entirely smooth sailing because I believe at some point, I think it was maybe a year after I put in the new power supply, I believe it was I wanted to install, I believe it was WinRAR, because I needed to, I believe it was I needed to extract the file I downloaded. I believe it would have been maybe like a Minecraft world or resource pack or something that I wanted to use. But I believe I made the mistake of downloading WinRAR from a sketchy website, and basically what happened was, like, I got WinRAR, but along with WinRAR, I also had all this extra bloatware that was getting installed. And so I go and uninstall all that stuff, and then I go and reboot my computer or restart my computer, and it just hangs at a black screen, and I try to restart it again, and it still hangs at a black screen, and it doesn't do anything. And I'm like, oh crap! Looks like my OS got corrupted. So basically, I think I fell back to using my mom's computer for a few days, and if I would have told her what happened, but this was still within the warranty period, so I was able to have Windows reinstalled for free. But though I think this would have been almost at the end of the warranty period, I think I would have only had a couple of months left, or maybe half of a year left, if that. But when we got to the store, they were really they were really cordial and nice, like even to the point of asking, like, do you need any files saved? And I think I would have said no because I didn't really have anything. Like, really all I had installed was I just had Minecraft, my web browser, which I think would have been Firefox at the time, and I think I may have had a few Minecraft worlds I would have downloaded, but pretty much all of my cherished builds were on the Aquired server. So if I had to have my computer has to be re-imaged, that wouldn't be too much of a concern for me. But if that happened to my computer today, I'd lose a ton of irreplaceable files. But that was then, this is now. But really I was able to, I believe we just had to leave it in that, I believe we had to leave it at the store for a day for them, or a day or two for them to get the work done, because I think he would have been busy with other customers at the time. But we have a couple of days later, we were able to pick the computer back up again, and really I was back on my merry way. And but really from here, there weren't really any other notable issues. Though there was this one day I believe I was trying to, I believe this was, I believe about 2 years, or I believe a year into my ownership of this computer, I was to start playing modded Minecraft. And though I very quickly found what the limitations of this computer were, at least in what mod packs that I could run on it. And this basically forced me to be very selective when it comes to what mod packs I play. And it also forced me to learn how to add new mods to a mod pack that I'm already playing. And though this one day I believe I was trying to play a mod pack, and the computer was clearly struggling to run it, and I think, well, really all what was slow about it was just the load time, but once it was loaded, or once the mod pack finished loading, it was more or less an okay-ish experience, but sometimes, but it wasn't really the smoothest frame rate, and sometimes it would get really laggy, but the fact that I could play modded on that computer at all, I was happy about. Anyway, it was just something fell off my dresser, but anyway, so this one day when I think I was playing modded Minecraft and my game crashed, but whenever my game crashes, it's like at least a 5-minute, or if not longer than that, like waiting period for, like, I think I would have had to wait like close to like 8 minutes just for Minecraft to load up again, or maybe it was more like 6 or 5 minutes, but I think what happened was my game crashed, and then I just got really angry, and I just really out of anger, I just I just like slapped the computer, really just because out of my anger and frustration, and that basically caused it to just stop working. And I'm like, well, crap, what do I do now? And so I spent like the better part of really the rest of that afternoon like troubleshooting, and I think I even Googled like how to troubleshoot a computer that wouldn't turn on, and then like I went through all the steps, like I unplugged I think I unplugged like some of the RAM, and like I unplugged like the hard drive, like just kind of narrowing down, like when a computer doesn't turn on, you're basically, like, in order to troubleshoot it, you're basically unplugging really any non-vital components, or at least non-vital in the terms of they're not needed for the computer to, for the motherboard to power on and display an image. And really you just kind of unplug things and just try to just like I can until the computer starts working, and then you just slowly like plug things back in until you find the problem. And after probably what would have been about a few hours of troubleshooting, I determined it to be just that the RAM slots, I guess, were just that the RAM slots are just dodgy. Like, It's like the RAM slots had a hard time getting a good connection, because if this computer were on, and if you so much as like touch the RAM while it's on, like just nudge it a little bit, like not saying you should do this to your computer when it's on, but like if you like normally just nudging the RAM a little bit shouldn't do anything, but in this computer, if you so much as nudge it a little bit, it that makes it lock up. And in more extreme cases, the computer basically will cease to work, and you have to keep unseating and reseating the RAM until it works again. And eventually I was able to restore all functionality to the computer, but it took me like removing and replacing the RAM probably like 5 times or more, and also booting up the computer with less RAM to like narrow down, like, is it just these sticks that are bad? But it turns out just the RAM slots are flaky. And really, other than those issues, this computer was really this computer didn't give me any more trouble than that. And really, for the most part, my 4 years of this computer being my daily use computer were really not all that bad. Was really it was really not a bad computer for all of the 4 years I've used it. Though by around like 2016, 2017 or so, it was really beginning to show its age. And I believe by around that time, me and Modcure were actually getting into playing modded Minecraft at the time, and I think we actually ended up having to settle on Sky Factory because that was literally the only mod pack I could run, or at least the only mod pack that I could get playable frame rate in and still like actually be able to build build machines and farms with, and still at least end up with at least playable FPS. And but I think Modcure even like actually at sometimes he even went computer shopping, like as if as if maybe he could find me a cheap option to easily upgrade my computer. But I very much could appreciate like Shecky's like me and Modcure have been friends for quite a while, but nowadays he has his own job and his own life, and I mean we still talk sometimes, but for the most part he's been busy. And but he clearly, I guess, like by that point, my Modcure was like, Dusty clearly needs a new computer soon, and yeah, and I believe for a brief amount of time I considered purchasing upgrades or more upgrades for this computer. Because I believe, I think briefly I considered upgrading the processor, but that computer already had almost the fastest processor that it could support installed in it. Like, there are a couple of options like up, from what I already had, but like the best, like the fastest, like the best processor that computer could have supported uh would have been just like a version of my existing processor that's only 200 megahertz faster. And I believe at the time that would have been about 25-30 bucks on eBay. Or if I was to buy that. And looking back, I'm kind of happy I didn't, because knowing what I know about computers now, that would not have been a that would have been like basic. I guess that would have technically have been an upgrade, but it would have been such a tepid upgrade that it would, like, if you didn't know it, like if I wasn't told, if I didn't know that my processor was upgraded, I wouldn't have known. I couldn't have told. But like, I could only really tell if I were to run Cinebench and compare the result of the old processor to the new one, and it would have been like maybe 10 or 20 more points over increase. And if I remember correctly, that processor would have gotten around 230 points in Cinebench R15. But if I were to have upgraded it, I maybe, if at best, would have gotten 250. I mean, it's an upgrade, but not a noticeable upgrade. But in the Christmas, I believe it was in the Christmas of 2016, I was to purchase a graphics card. Well, at the time, I stupidly bought an AMD RX 460, thinking that this was going to upgrade the performance of my computer, at least noticeably. But I mean, I guess it would have if I was to run shaders, but at the time I didn't use shaders, just because my computer would not have been able to handle it. And I think when I got this graphics card, ModKiller was to help me install it, but when I booted up Minecraft for the first time since putting that graphics card in here, or in that computer, I was quite underwhelmed, to say the least. Basically, I didn't really notice any performance increase at all, and in some areas I felt that I wasn't sure about this, but in some areas I felt the FPS was lower than before. And so I ultimately ended up just taking that card out and just putting the GT610 back in. But for a little while after that, I started experiencing an issue where, this was after I was to upgrade to dual monitors, but there's a funny story on how that actually happened. So, my dad, his monitor, stopped working, at least he was like, my monitor doesn't work anymore. Could I have a new one? And so my mom goes to that computer place and buys a new monitor for him. but that one ended up not working, and what we ultimately did was picked one up from Best Buy. But it turns out that monitor was not actually broken, just the power switch was broken. So what I did was, I think what I did was I took my soldering iron and I just melted the plastic around where the button was so that I could still at least touch where the contacts were, or at least the pads on the circuit board. And then I found that if I just plug in the monitor and then I just take a screwdriver and short those contacts out, the monitor would turn on. And but it turns out if I unplug the monitor and plug it back in, it would still power on. And Roy, what happened was I ended up getting a free second monitor because my parents thought it was broken. But it turns out it wasn't actually broken. You just kind of have to use it in an unconventional way. But I ended up using that monitor for another for a number of years. But recently it finally kicked the bucket. I believe that was when my sister was using it at the time, and she replaced it with a TV from Best Buy. But another funny story was also relating to the monitor story was during the time where my dad didn't have a working monitor. I was kind of forced to let my dad borrow my current monitor, and my sister gave me her TV to use as a monitor. So think about a few days, I had a TV on my desk where my monitor used to be. Well, it was a rather small TV. It wasn't I'd say probably about 30, maybe 30, 35 inches, 32 inches maybe. But that was kind of interesting, but at least it allowed me to keep using my computer, which is nice. But I think my sister was able to do that because the TV was her second monitor, and it just meant she had to go to using one monitor for a little bit. But going back to the graphics card fiasco, even after I went back to using the GT610, I ran into a problem where if I'm watching YouTube videos while Minecraft is open on another monitor, if I try to play the video in 1080p, it wouldn't play smoothly. It would just lag out. And the only way for me to watch the video smoothly is I believe was to drop the resolution to, I believe it was about 360p. I don't remember this being a problem really when I first got that graphics card. It's just I guess maybe at some point YouTube might have had an update that I guess made it more demanding. To the point where that graphics card could barely run it anymore, maybe. I'm just guessing on that, but really what it meant was I just had to watch videos and reduce quality if I was to like if I was to multitask on that computer, which I did quite often. Like oftentimes I would be AFK at a farm while watching a YouTube video, and I mean, it didn't stop me from watching the videos, but it did still sort of hamper my ability to multitask with that computer. And then at some point, my sister upgraded her graphics card. Like, I believe around the time, I think a bit before I was to get my new computer, my sister was to receive an iBuyPower PC that I had an AMD FX 6300, 8 gigs of RAM, and I believe a R7 250. And I believe, and then I think when she upgraded it, she got an NVIDIA 1050 Ti. And she was to give me that graphics card because she doesn't really have a use for it anymore, and she knows I like to collect computer parts, and so she just gave it to me. And my first thought was to try plug it into my computer, see if it works. Because really at this time, I was just desperate for some kind of an upgrade, like a graphics card upgrade, that would at least allow me to watch YouTube smoothly, but not, like, be super bottlenecked by my processor. And like, I found that card worked for the most part, but sometimes, for some reason, like having that graphics card in there, like the computer would just hard lock. Like I'd be playing Minecraft or using like my web browser, and then it would just all of a sudden just like the screen would just freeze and it would be unresponsive. And the only way to get out of that is to literally like hard power the computer off and back on again. Like as in unplug the computer or flip the switch on the power supply. And so that led me at the time to believe that card was just forked, but at a later date, really out of curiosity more than anything, I plugged that card into one of my more recent computers, and I believe I played a few rounds of Fortnite with it, and it worked fine. Though I think I've only used that for about a day or so. So like I don't really know for sure if that card still even works, but at least it didn't work in that computer. And so really, I was just to keep using this computer, and for I think after that whole experience, I kept using it for about another another year or two. And although there was this one other thing, this one other story I remember. So that Thermaltake power supply that I got at some point, I guess the fan bearings started going out, and it started making like almost like a rumbling or like a clicking kind of noise. And like at first it wasn't that severe, but it just got worse and worse over time. And I believe initially we actually replaced it with it was a Cooler Master power supply that I got from Micro Center at the time. That was actually my very first time actually physically going to a Micro Center store. Like, we actually have one where I live. And I believe we picked up, like a keyboard in that power supply at the time, but it was really a sight to see, like, all the shelves, like, of the like all the shelves of the computer parts, and like they have a whole section of the store that's literally just dedicated to building your own gaming PCs, which was quite a sight to see. And I just knew, like, at some point in my life I'm gonna buy something from there. Like, even if it's not, I'm not gonna build a whole new computer just by shopping at Micro Center. I was gonna hopefully make some sort of major purchase there. And later on I was going to do that very thing, but I'm not gonna, I don't want to spoil it for those who are just watching the series, though you probably know what that is by now if you watch my other videos. But with that power supply, I don't know what the deal was with it, but it's just, the fan would just get really loud. Like, I don't know, I guess the fan would just speed up and like really fast for no reason. And we ended up just returning that, and I think I ultimately ended up buying an EVGA an EVGA power supply from Amazon, which basically I used and was able to carry over to my next computer, which I'll be talking about in the next video. But as for this computer, it was the right computer for me at the time, though. Like, I guess had we have like looked for deals, or we're more looking to, have you been looking to shop elsewhere? We could have gotten a better deal on a similar computer, or even a computer that was a little newer than that one. And I could have gotten a computer that would have been more capable. But at the very least, it did what it needed to do for me. It allowed me to it allowed me to meet several friends on Autcraft. It allowed me to it allowed me to cut my teeth on what upgrading, what repairing and upgrading PCs is like. And it also gave me some experience in troubleshooting PCs, at least that one experience where I got angry and hit it and it caused it to not work. And also just I can't thank it enough for those reasons. And oddly enough, I still actually have the computer in my room. I guess we just haven't gotten rid of it yet. But at this point, it's kind of been I've stripped it of the power supply, because obviously the original power supply went out, and for my next computer I needed to take the power supply out and to put it in my next computer. So spoiler alert for what that next computer actually is going to be. And also And I believe I also took the hard drive out of it because at the time I thought I was gonna put it in the computer that replaced it to give me extra storage, and then that ended up what I ended up using it for. Though I really only used it as a storage drive. I don't think I put any games on it. But I think I would have used it just as extra storage for whatever like anything that wouldn't fit on my other storage drives would just went on that hard drive. So really that I guess brings the end of this computer, the HP Pavilion desktop. And really the reason what ultimately happened was I replaced it because it was I replaced it with the computer that's will be next in this series, because it was just at that time it was clearly showing its age and also beginning to hold me back in terms of what games I would be able to run, and what or even what kind of stuff I can do in Minecraft. And I think at the time I was starting to get into YouTube, but I was just not really confident that that computer was going to be able to even handle recording. And so really really it just got replaced. Though I still have those, though oddly enough I still actually have the machine. Though I'll probably be getting rid of it soon, because I really don't have any use for it anymore. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, remember to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you want to see my next videos, be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And this concludes my story of the HP Pavilion desktop that I had. Or at least that got me into Minecraft. And this is Dusty signing off. Peace out.